This is kind of a tough one. Absolum is a roguelike beat-em-up developed by Guard Crush Games and Supermonks. Guard Crush Games made Streets of Rage 4, a game you might have heard of. It's a super critically acclaimed side-scrolling brawler, and Absolum isn't too different. The game blends typical beat-em-up gameplay with some roguelike elements, like the classic choose one from a set of 2 or 3 upgrades, and sometimes they'll even synergize with each other. Each run in Absolum starts with you picking a character. There seems to be 4. You only start with 2, but you unlock them while you play, and then picking a spell for that character. Each character starts with 1 spell, but you can unlock more through the meta progression, which we'll talk about a little later. Spells cost mana, which you get by hitting enemies, and do something cool in theory. The map for your run is slightly randomized, but it isn't that randomized. There's a couple of preset routes for you to take, and then the random part is the way that you fight the trash mobs in between more important nodes like towns and bosses, which are basically static. Before I say anything else about this game, I want to say that I think I'm terrible at it, like really bad. I didn't know what I was doing at all, and it just got worse and worse over my first 3 runs. Like legitimately, I got games journalist level bad. It wasn't until I talked to this trainer lady and did some completely optional tutorials that I figured out a little bit what was going on. I think that combat works like this. So you have a light attack and a heavy attack, and you can combo them together by hitting people. You can also jump and do this in the air. There's also a dash button. The dash button lets you run faster if you hold it down, or dash if you tap it while holding left or right. If an enemy hits you with a blockable attack while you're dashing, you deflect it, and it gives you a window to hit them back. But if you're holding up or down when you dash instead, you dodge. Some attacks are unblockable, so you're gonna have to dodge those. There's some other systems in the game, like items you can pick up and throw, or mounts you can hop on and ride around, but neither of these felt really fun or important. The boar mount kinda just runs around, and the throwing items do okay damage, I guess. There's also hireable companions, which is kind of a cool concept, but again, I just don't really know what the point is. These guys aren't interesting or strong enough to warrant their own existence, nor are they useless enough for me to even ridicule. Like all the other systems in the game, they're just there. Punching things and knocking people into the wall and having them bounce off is never gonna stop being fun though. I wish every game let me punch things into the wall and then have them bounce off so I can punch them again. There's also your spell. I found the spells super underwhelming. The dwarf guy that I chose to play had this gun, and all the spells were basically different ways of shooting his gun. They were all either kind of hard to hit or did relatively low damage, or both, especially considering how long it actually takes to build up the mana. It doesn't take forever, but it isn't instant either. I really thought these spells would do something a little bit stronger, and using them just made me feel kind of weak. As both an example and a segue, enemies can have their attacks cancelled if you hit them hard enough, but sometimes my spell wouldn't even do enough damage to cancel the attacks of pretty basic enemies. I would have been better off just dashing over there and beating them up. On that note, a lot of the time it felt like dodging around randomly was genuinely an okay strategy. Some attacks are indicated by a gray or red flash to show that they're coming and that they're blockable or unblockable, but other attacks seem to just happen with no warning, like barely even an animation. Normally this would be a little bit annoying, but the fact that this is a roguelike also means that every point of HP is precious, as you have limited opportunity to heal. On that note, the healing was pretty underwhelming too. Getting to a rest site was basically useless, as it only restores 15% of your health, and the rare food items you can find also don't help much on this front. The scarcity of survivability should have made me feel like I needed to be extra careful the whole time, but ultimately I felt like I was avoiding the big hits and just taking chip damage from random stupid things. The meta progression system stands a chance though. Every run you get points based on how well you did and how high your combos got throughout the run, which is a cool way to combine the beat 'em up and roguelike genres. As you gain points, you earn certain rewards that you can spend on different upgrades. The main thing you can do with these is unlock new spells. Unlocking enough new spells for a character also unlocks a new move they can use. You can also get these crystals throughout your runs. This was the only thing I ever wanted to get, and I was disappointed when I got anything but these as rewards throughout my runs. You can spend crystals on stat upgrades that seem to go across all your characters. Even though they're really basic, like plus 10 health or something, I really felt like I needed them to get through my runs. I already mentioned spells a lot, but unlocking the new spells felt completely pointless, as they all did equally little, so I barely felt like I was progressing as I unlocked them. The fact that you can only equip one at a time means that you're ultimately just unlocking a new playstyle, but you use the spells so rarely and they do so little that I didn't really feel like there was much of a point. As a quick note, the art in this game is genuinely amazing. As fast-paced as the game gets sometimes, I was always grateful for the opportunity to slow down and look around. The story also seems kind of compelling, not enough for me to talk about here, but kind of interesting. The game has a system to let you speed up story sequences too, but the feature doesn't really work that well as it gets interrupted every time there's dialogue, which is obviously happening all the time in cutscenes and story sequences. sequences. The game also gives you story beats quickly and often, which sounds fine but got a little annoying. Having to sit through 10 seconds of story exposition every 2 minutes just got a little bit old. It never gives you enough information to actually think or care about, while always taking just enough time that it feels like it's getting in the way of you punching another dog. Ultimately, I think a lot of the things I did not enjoy about this game come from my unfamiliarity with the genre. Teaching you how the combat works from square one is clearly not the intention of this game. The game does not do a good job explaining the combat system, and spends much more time explaining the roguelike elements and progression systems, which to me felt a lot more intuitive than the combat. As much as I liked a lot of the vibe that the game gave off, I don't think that I'll be playing it again. The combination of roguelike elements and beat 'em up gameplay seems like a match made in heaven, and maybe someday a game will come and prove me right, but Absolum is not that game. Overall, I really like what this game tried to do, but I don't think I'm going to be booting it up again anytime soon. If you're super into beat 'em ups, I feel like there has to be a better game out there for you, and if the roguelike elements interest you, they shouldn't. Sorry, Absolum, I have a lot of respect for you, but you just were not that fun.